last time the Canadian Prime Minister went there, as you said, back in 2017, that was Justin Trudeau, and he left Beijing with a commitment from Chinese President Xi Jinping that they would start a negotiation to begin a larger negotiation between Canada and China to create a free trade agreement, something like we have with the United States, except with China. And that was very ambitious and a lot of excitement about that, but it really ultimately went nowhere because relations between the two countries soured very quickly. Remember the whole Meng Wanzhou affair, the arrest by Canada of a Chinese telecom executive at the request of the United States, then the retaliation by China of the imprisonment of the two Michaels, which was only resolved few years later. They spent a lot of time in Chinese prisons and really put a complete chill on the relationship between the two countries. But Carney is trying to resuscitate it now because of the urgency of creating new export opportunities for Canada, given the situation with the tariffs in the United States. The ongoing irritants that have to be solved, though, are Canada's decision last year to put a 100% tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles and also tariffs on Chinese-made steel and aluminum. The idea then, when Joe Biden was the U.S. president, was to kind of harmonize our trade regime with the United States with respect to China and protect the North American auto industry. Well, there's not too much enthusiasm for that anymore. So this is things that are going to be really up for discussion when Carney meets with Xi in Beijing next week. They're going to be talking about the EV tariffs, whether or not these can be relaxed, changed, also the Canadian tariffs on steel, and the Chinese retaliatory tariffs that have been very damaging, especially to Western Canadian farmers on canola, as well as some seafood products. So this is kind of the whole thing that's up in the air, and the stakes are very high. I mean, we sort of think of America as being our prime trade partner. It is, but China is number two, about $118 billion last year just in merchandise trading. That's not including services as well. So it's a big trade relationship, and it has the potential for enormous growth. Of course, China wants oil as well, which we have, and this all ties into this ongoing negotiation, this discussion between Ottawa and Alberta about creating another pipeline to the West Coast that would allow us to export, theoretically, more oil to China. And this is, of course, particularly crucial right now, given the situation in Venezuela and the uncertainty about how that is going to affect the price for Canadian oil if the United States starts importing a lot more Venezuelan oil than they were doing before the arrest of Nicolas Maduro.